Harlem Shuffle is a Pulitzer Prize-winning novel written by American novelist Colson Whitehead. The book was published in 2021 to much critical praise. It is a novel that expertly utilizes aspects of several different literary movements. However, there are two that stand out above all the rest. That would be naturalism and regionalism. I'm going to give a brief rundown of the story. Raymond Carney is the main character. He is a furniture salesman and he is related to Freddie. Freddie is a lowlife and a druggie. He has recently gotten involved with a character named Miami Joe who's putting together a scheme to rob a hotel. It is called the Teresa. He has himself as the brains, he has Freddie as the driver, he has Arthur as the safecracker, and he has Pepper as the muscle. The robbery goes well, and they get away with the loot. In doing so, they have stolen something from a character named Chink Montag, who is chasing after them for the rest of that third of the story. A few days later, Arthur is killed. They later find out that Miami Joe is the one that killed him. He stole the loot, and he is planning to kill every other person on the team before hopping town. Regionalism in the sense that the author is very accurate and precise with the grammar and language that will be utilized by residents of Harlem in the 1950s and 1960s, including both the prim and proper talk of the high-class folk in the Dumas Club, as well as the short and to-the-point slang of less savory underground elements of Harlem's underbelly. In support of my previous point about regionalism and the way that he uses language, I would like to quote the Wall Street Journal. Mr. Whitehead's various powers have attained something like equilibrium. The humor and flashes of the old world wizardry are there, as is the philosophical subtext. Race, while not foreground the way it is in the Underground Railroad and the Nickel Boys, is woven inextricably into the background like subtle but effective film music. I'm going to be quoting from the Los Angeles Times to further my point on regionalism. Clocking in at just over 100 pages each, these interlocking narratives track Carney's schemes, victories, and misdeeds, as well as the changes in his life in 1959, 1961, and 1964. With every section, I'm pulling back more and more on Carney's world, Whitehead says. We get introduced to the street-level crime in the first book. We pull back and get more of a sense of Harlem, and the corruption and the social structure, the hierarchy, the other forces working upon Carney and the other people in Harlem, and then we pull back and see the real power of the city. The way that naturalism is used in the story is for him to build a strong sense of atmosphere in this novel's rendition of Harlem, as well as making it abundantly clear that the social situations in the novel are very fragile. Some of those more obvious ones being white Manhattan versus black Harlem, and some of the more story-related ones are Ray the furniture salesman versus Ray the crook, as well as Ray versus some of the people in the Dumas Club, such as Leyland and Duke, and at points Ray has conflicts with Pepper and Freddie. And a large one in the story, although his father is dead, is his conflict with his father's legacy as Big Mike and being a very well-known crook around Harlem and being his son. I would like to read a short excerpt from the book to help further my point on naturalism. Page 26, Chapter 2. It was true that his cousin did bring a necklace by from time to time, or a watch or two, top-notch, or a few rings in silver box engraved with initials, and it was true that Carney had an associate on Canal Street who helped these items onto the next leg of their journey. From time to time, now that he added up all the occasions, they numbered more than he thought, but that was not the point. Nothing like what you're talking about now. You don't know what you can do, Ray Ray. You never have. That's why you have me. In support of my previous point about naturalism and the way that heredity affects Ray's decisions, I would like to quote The Atlantic. Ray's desire to be taken seriously as a legitimate businessman is not just about shaking off the reputation of his father, but also wants to stick to his self-made success in the face of his wife's family.